Hey everyone, welcome back to the North American Challenger Series, and our final game of the evening will kick off in just a little bit. Now as the team's ready up in the lobby, let's check out the highlights from last night when TDK clashed with Team Fusion.
This was our longest game of the night yesterday, and very back and forth. You can see TDK, there used to be some question about their team comps that they're drafting, like a Vladimir top. Last week, it was Mundo for Seraph, with huge poke being thrown at them. Saw some bans from Fusion at the Nidalee and Kyle's Jace, which shut that down. And then they ended up with a composition that has good wave clear, good mixture of damage here, and ultimately great engage and has some siege.
Yeah, honestly, just a very well-rounded team. Generally, on the offensive side of all things, they're disengaged, not amazing, but as long as you pick good fights, you're fine here. On the side of enemy Esports, though, or sorry, not enemy, Team Fusion, they have a questionable tank line, not the best engaged. They just sort of are relying on Huhi to split push to try to keep the team apart, and then, look, their siege is okay afterwards, but it's just sort of chaotic what their team comp actually does. So I want to roll this game and actually show you what happened throughout this match.
Yeah, last week we saw Fusion actually lose when they didn't have a tank line as well, and it was Nintendo, again, this week, being their sole frontliner. Getting pinched in, though, in an operation, turns it around on Louis, and he gets the wild growth. But ultimately, it's Nintendo.
Yeah, his overall is very chaotic. You know, he gets traded in, dies, Chunky Fresh. Like, really smart by Louis GG, stays right outside of range of the Glitter Lances, just makes that happen. Smoothie with a great flash ulti lands onto 2, and it's really clean, easy follow-up. By the way, Seraph over the wall. Hi, Niantanso. They saved the last Zeroth ult for that one as well. TDK just able to engage. In Fusion, they don't have anything to really force. Like, okay, maybe we can pick up Seraph here. Maybe we can do some damage. But Seraph with a beautiful outplay. Watch this. Ready? Dodges the ulti from Niantanso. Picks up 2 kills by himself.
Remember when Seraph first came over to NA and he was streaming Yasuo and Lissandra top, even when they weren't meta? Now Lissandra's meta, and he gets to make all these great plays. But you can see here, 25 minutes in, TDK are on the inhibitor, but they take a terrible fight here that's engaged by Fusion on top of them.
Yeah, they go a little bit too hard. Huhi stays alive throughout all of it. In the end, this is what the comp's good at. They have a Jinx. Jinx does things late game. Has a red buff, 2, 4, and 3 right now. Kyle forced to flash away. The 5 versus 1 gives them Baron, but here's a great flank. This TP from Lissandra.
Watch Seraph. He comes in with home guard from the back, right onto Niantanso, and he is obliterated 48 minutes into the game after Fusion had a huge turnaround. You can see there, they are up 3k gold when that fight starts. They slingshotted back into the game, and then TDK wrestled the lead off that fight, and they end the game only being up 1 turret in gold at the very end.
Yeah, 79 point to 78 point gold right there. The thing is, that one flank fight, I think it surprised even Fusion a little bit. The Lulu ult was still up, the exhaust in their support was still up. They just could not keep Nian alive through the burst that came out from the offensive comp of TDK. You can see the individual contributors, 20,000 gold Seraph, 10, 3, and 2, crushed that game.
Man, I don't give MVP, like we don't give MVP here, but Seraph has been MVP in the 3 games that he has played in the last 3 that have been victories for them. That flank was on a pink ward too, so he knew that they couldn't see him, and he was immediately home guarding straight onto Niantanso.
Yeah.
That was a beautiful, just game-winning play there.
And the team actually finally finds a way to play around Seraph properly. So far, so good. The Siege champions as well, looking pretty decent for Kyle also. I still hope teams will actually keep banning Jace. So far, Fusion did that. It wasn't enough just yet. But the matchup we'll be watching is actually that one in the mid lane. Kyle going up against Huhi. Now, Kyle has had kind of middling results. Of course, TDK started out 0-2, and your scoreline's going to reflect that. But they've now won 3 straight. 2 Jace games in a row. Then he played Xerath. So far, so good.
Yeah, his poke style, his sieging style, is something that needs to be tested. Banning him out and forcing him onto other champions. See what he can play aside from the Jace, aside from the Xerath, because this is a very prolonged tournament. He needs to be good on multiple champions.
And on his other side, though, is Huhi, who's been showing most of his success on champions like Zed. His assassination play has been good. You can see his CS difference is really good. He is the most dominant mid laner right now, but it's not been enough yet for Fusion. They're only 2 and 3 so far, 5 games in. Yeah,
split push central here for Huhi. He loves the champions that just do their own thing. Even his LeBlanc becomes a split push LeBlanc.
It just makes the individual plays, and honestly, when you've got individual contributors that good, in Challenger, typically your shot calling isn't quite as good as the pro level, and you wouldn't expect it to be, since it's the level right below that, and so just splitting and creating pressure all the time, you're going to create weaknesses. You're going to poke holes in enemy teams, and you're going to win games that way. We'll see if Fusion can do that right here. But TDK poised to tie for second at 4-2 if they can win here. Fusion, they expected to be a top team. We talked to Nian in week 1 and said, yeah, got a few kinks to work out. I'm still, working with everyone else with Trance and everything. We're gonna get this going, don't worry. And hey, they're the only team to beat enemy esports so far, but they're starting to slip down all the same.
Yeah, they actually are 2-3 right now up against TDK, who are 3-2. TDK are on a 3-win streak.
Right.
3DK, I guess.
It works.
It all works.
It does.
But most of that has been off the back of Seraph being allowed to be in a carry role. He doesn't have to be the tanky top laner. He can be a carry top laner, and he still does that on Mundo as well.
Well, he picked in the right comp, Mundo into a poke comp. They can't deal with that champion, and you saw it worked very well. So the bans come out. Seraph actually banning out his own Lissandra. No LeBlanc for Huhi. And obviously the Jace does go away from Kyle, because who would let that man get that champion?
Yeah, you don't want to let him have that champion. This could actually be a Nidalee for Huhi. We'll have to see. It's most likely for Nintendo. See if he can dominate the jungle there. Thing that's questionable here is no ban towards the Irelia. TDK have to ban out the Lissandra in place of that. They banned out Irelia yesterday. So Chunky Fresh, the thing with him is with the losses here for Fusion are usually when he's playing Lulu. They make it so that he's not a tanky frontliner. They take away his Scion. They take away his Irelia.
Yeah.
Now he gets it.
Right, he played Irelia in 3 games, Lulu in 2 when he couldn't get that champion. You expect him to go back to this one here. It's not really a Seraph champ, so you expect that to come in for free. Kez picking in Rek'Sai early, and it's just surprised to me that they would ban a champion that they had success with this Lissandra, and then pick an uncontested jungler first round. These guys aren't willing to show anything in their first few picks.
So here's the thing too, is if you don't ban the Lissandra, you ban the Irelia instead. If Fusion first pick Lissandra, you get Kez Nidalee.
Right.
If they first pick Nidalee, you get Seraph Lissandra.
Yeah. TDK
don't know if it was
not
necessary.
Wanting to rush any of their picks, though. The Irelia does come in for Fusion before anything happens. The Corki, Fortney, and Tonso want some early game power and a mid-game spike as well with the Triforce rush. So Fusion, right now they've got 2 18-minute power spike champions.
Yeah, they do. They have champions that hit that power spike, hit that stride. They are very troughed early, but Nintendo can take care of that with Nidalee.
Yeah. I mean, and Corki's just a pretty good laner overall. Very few bad matchups. Sivir probably the worst one, and she is common, but we'll see if that ends up being picked regardless. Gotta see what matchup Seraph wants against Chunky Fresh, since he's gonna get a comfort pick there in the top lane. TDK also, we don't know what kind of comp they're running. Sona and Rek'Sai fairly generalist. And it's gonna be Zed. They take that away from Huhi, and they're gonna show, I assume, Kyle, not Seraph, on an assassin mid laner.
Okay, this is really good because he's only played things that have long distance on them. Ezreal, Azir, Jace, Xerath is what he's played. All of those are very safe champions. Now, Kyle has to show his deep fight mechanics. What can he do in the middle of a huge pile of people? And he takes that away from Huhi, which is absolutely brilliant because Huhi would just split on that champion. You took away his LeBlanc as well. Now you're going to force him on something else, and there it is. It's the Ezreal. Or it's the Corki.
Interesting. So
switch.
Double AD comp going to be here for Fusion. They do have a front line with Irelia and Alistar. They have some magic damage with the Nidalee. And heck, they've even got crowd control. So I got to say, Fusion's team comp, well-rounded overall in this double AD comp. So I have to see just how they want to poke with all of their advantages this comp has. Rockets, Javelins, Ezreal Qs. See what they can do with this.
It's the beauty of Nidalee jungle is it frees up a lot of double AD compositions because now you can have 2 tanks and not have one of them be your jungler.
That's true. Right. Now, Alistar doesn't even need farm to be a tank. You press R, and you got to respect that champion all the same. TDK, the last pick, comes in for Kennen in the top lane. They seem to be happy to let Chunky Fresh play Irelia because Seraph wants to play Kennen into it. Double ninjas here. The engage, plenty strong. Kennen, Graves, Sona, jump in. Even Rek'Sai can help a little bit with the knock-up there. Dive in, blows people up. And it's a fairly squishy team.
You still just point and click the Kennen out of the fight with Alistar.
That's true.
I'm not sold on it just yet. The Kennen pick is a little strange. You'll win lane a little bit versus the Irelia. You'll have the auto attacks and the advantage, and you'll keep him down. But Irelia will eventually do Irelia things after the 20-minute, 18-minute mark. Kennen needs to get into these team fights, and the split push threat, I think eventually will just be Irelia splitting against Zed.
Yeah, and that is a matchup I've seen actually go both ways. Yeah. Zed has the ability to force the kill. It really doesn't always, but we'll see how the gold flows into this game. Now, Team Fusion has a pretty good poke top this time around, but in last week, TDK used it in consecutive games to sweep TSM Darkness, and you can read all about that at lolesports.com.
Under the Features tab, the write-up also has details on XPeke's new team, Origin, and how they used a triple AP comp to take out Reason Gaming last week.
Yeah, a bunch of fun games, the Challenger Series, NA, and EU overall. If you want to watch the off-air games, those are up as well for your viewing pleasure. So if you want
VOD Hub.
Yep.
Under VODs.
VOD Hub is quite nice overall. I got to say, happy things about lolesports.com. And in general, we're going to see the fight for roughly third place in the standings here. Fusion wants to get themselves back up to 3-3 to make sure they've got a good road ahead of them on the route to playoffs. But if with a loss here, they're down to only 2 wins, and it's a kind of grim road. TDK, though, proving that they're maybe exceeding expectations. They were, I want to say, one of the weaker teams power ranking-wise coming in to the Challenger Series. But if they 2-0 Fusion, they are clearly a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah, they've only been 0-2'd by Enemy so far, but at this point, who hasn't? Enemy are having great showings. The only people who haven't are Fusion, right? TDK, the only thing that sticks out to me is when they draft something that's very questionable, how do they do throughout the laning phase? Also, TDK could have won that previous game at the 25-minute mark. We saw them on the inhibitor.
That's true.
And then they allowed Fusion to slingshot back in by positioning poorly for that last fight.
All right, well, let's see what happens in this one. Fusion going for the early invade trance. Golden Alistair, it seems.
30 seconds until minions spawn.
And gets that deep ward that, of course, does get spotted on the minimap by TDK. Both teams aware of these lane swap wards. But it wouldn't be too hard for the teams to duck back into Darkness, recall, and pick their lanes blind anyway. I want to see what Seraph does. He knows the ward's up there. And he's going to show.
Here's the thing, though, is...
Oh, he doesn't? Oh, no. I didn't realize you could actually bypass that one.
Whoop. Hug the wall. He's a ninja.
That's how much I know.
He's a ninja. Oh, wow.
He does it anyway.
They didn't see you, Seraph. Here's the thing, though, is Seraph actually went on a great kind of solo operation, and he got a ward in the top lane over the wall. Mm-hmm. So they will know whether or not somebody backs and jukes them out.
Well, let's see. The lane matchup is going to be 2-on-2. TDK, I got to say, this looks like a way better matchup for those guys. Graves, Sona, real strong early on. Now, there is some threat of Alistair Corki bursting you as levels accrue, but that's like level 3 or higher only. Fusion wanting to fast push this as fast as humanly possible. And it looks like they
don't want it.
Don't want the 2-on-2. Okay, I take it. Yeah, so right, the early levels, way better for the poke team of Graves, Sona. That's one of the cool things about Targons, by the way, is it helps you clear that wave that much faster. And it means that they're not going to miss too terribly much in the lane swap. Chunky Fresh, level 2.
Solos it.
Recall, TP to the lane.
Misses out a little bit on the waves, but it's not that big a deal because he gets to solo that camp. He's also not going to get too much in this lane since it is going to be frozen against him.
Trance helping Nintendo a little bit. It looks like a double buff start for Nidalee. That's going to be just fine. Smites it for health. Seraph 2.5 before he finds lane opponents. Problem is he has built a freeze for Fusion. But being Kennen, he's not under all that much threat. We'll see though when Nidalee comes in for a potential gank. Alistair, Nid, Corki has a lot of kill pressure.
Transcending level 2. Now he's just going to be on zone duty.
Yeah, Seraph won't get XP anymore.
Yep.
He shouldn't anyway.
And here's the thing too, is Kennen is not the greatest of solo junglers at all. He'd have to pair up with the jungler, but it's not going to...
How did he know to be afraid of
that? Tremor Sense?
Oh, if Nintendo was moving, yeah.
Yeah.
Good call. I forget that exists for some reason.
Oh, man. I forget that it doesn't exist on other junglers. Like, I sit around in a bush as Nidalee, and I'm like, why did I not see him? Where's my OP radar? 10 dudes looking. Oh, Louis used his E there.
Gosh, ooh, there's the knockup, though. Smoothie wants to take the fight. Look at that. Yeah, heals it right back up. Gets 8 gold for attacking Trance. All is well once more.
He has to back up. Kez in that top lane. And 10 dude is now just on siege breaking duties. He's the ambulance. Gave him a heal. Chunky Fresh, a little bit healthier than he was before.
Yay, he's going to survive. All right, so Aurelia soloing under turret, happily farming with that Q. So far, pretty easy for him. Got that one, but good poke back by Luigi G. So Chunky Fresh, though he's chugging some flash charges, and by the way, he did not use a teleport to get back to lane, does have some decent sustain. But it's not like Ken and Sona's a bad lane overall. It's like almost as bad as like the old duo lane was. Like Fusion didn't get anything better here.
Man, do you ever play AD Kennen?
No.
Don't. It's not that great.
Didn't it win a game in the EULCS back with Dragonborns?
Oh, I don't know. It might have.
I think it definitely did.
It's not absolutely terrible, but it's just like building like AD carry LeBlanc, right? Except AD carry LeBlanc might be a little better.
Hey man, AD carry LeBlanc hasn't won a game in the LCS yet.
That's true. That's very true.
Well, Fusion happy to keep this 2-on-2 though. Looks like Nia not really getting poked out too hard. I guess the lack of buckshot makes it a little bit easier. No, that's still good though.
Seraph CSing decently well, and now the wave just keeps shoving into him.
The Trance now level 4 also has a sustain to make this lane not too hard either. Trance, he doesn't really cast anything offensive, has pretty much nothing to worry about mana-wise. He can keep this Corki healed up. So far, the case. Rek'Sai keeps a lot of wards up for Luigi G, so really no threat on this Graves. He's going to get to free farm. 41 minions so far. Pretty soon they'll be up to BF Sword money. Kaz looking mid, but I can't expect Huhi to really be killable. Zed, I think, does hit 6 this wave, though.
Huhi E's at all. It's definitely an all-in. Oh, what? It looked like he might
He jumped to the shadow, but he was too far away. Deathmark didn't go through. Trance landing a bit of a combo onto Seraph, getting some more poke down. Nintendo going through a ward, but Luigi G and Chunky Fresh in the battle right now. Jumps right back in. Here comes the TP in from Seraph. Only level 4 on the Kennen. Nintendo does not want that fight.
Here comes the ulti. Whoa!
Ooh. I'm surprised they didn't stay if they can do that kind of damage with Ezreal. Just like ult on the minion as it's TPing and be like, burst this, go.
Nintendo just has to land a spear and then he can just completely obliterate Luigi G. Louis would have to flash, yeah. Louis.
It's a fairly wasteful ult. He could have like 2 CS.
Yeah.
Let's see, that's enough. Yeah, I guess that ult gave him like 1 more potion on the recall, so I can't completely hate on that choice. But the ulti will be down.
No, do it, Freak. Hate on it.
I mean, it's not the worst idea in the world. Apparently, according to you, AD Kennen is the worst one. So, only one drinking haterade today is you.
Ooh. I think AD Kennen also doesn't have that bad of a attack speed, base attack speed.
No, it's actually real good.
So the multiplier on it is actually pretty decent when you get Phantom Dancer. And the fact that W is multiplied by attack damage.
Yep.
It's pretty good.
No, you basically max W and go Blade of the Ruin King. You get your W up all the time. You'd re-trigger it for like extra magic damage burst. You know, self-peel, things like that. I mean, there were tools that made it work, which is why it got played. It's just not as efficient as something like Jinx.
And like 550 range is great. Pretty average for an AD carry.
However, Seraph is building magic penetration and ability power this game, so it doesn't really mean that much here.
Helps his W.
Yeah.
Helps all his abilities. But the fact that you start the Doran's Blade is just for the laning phase. He does come out of the laning phase 10 CS up over Chunky Fresh. They swap it back after the first item buys here of Sheen and BF Sword for the AD carries. And now...
This is overall better for TDK, though. Yeah. BF Sword's better than Sheen, and Sword Shoes are better than half a Phage. So the sort of secondary laning phase...
They saw Nintendo go in.
Oh, hold on. Chunky Fresh actually doing an amazing job of pushing around Seraph. It's way more damage than I expected it to be.
Nintendo's coming up. They see him. The Spirit... Oh, nope. Yeah, they were stalking him all the way through. Kez saw Nintendo walk up to the red.
Oh, dude, Chunky Fresh, though, was 6. That's actually one big breakpoint, though, is he was getting solo XP, so he's just ahead in that 1v1. Luigi G getting poked around. Nien, he's 6, so he's fine. Like, Corki's going to do his job.
Constantly poke this bottom wave. Now that the 2-on-2 is crashing against each other, though. Oh, the knockoff!
Burst damage, though. Wow, they're going to go right for Luigi G. Exhaust is on. The flash in. First blood for Nian Tanso. Smoothie forced to run. Trance with some really good setups. Oh, God. Oh, no. Smoothie, why did you do that? Nian Tanso eviscerates the poor Sona.
Phosphorus,
DJ is down.
Phosphorus Bomb does a little more damage than you would think.
Yep.
I mean,
and I really thought BF Sword Graves was going to do well, but he didn't have his ultimate.
Yep.
And, well, actually he probably did, just didn't cast it. He almost definitely had his ultimate.
Yeah. Oh, man, Kez going on some missions here, but Nintendo really wants this red. He's been stalking it for a long time. Chunky Fresh.
I mean, Nintendo's just massively outplaying him. He's up like 16 CS and a level in this jungle. Kez has been entirely useless this game. Oh, no!
Got it!
Nintendo! Pulling a terrible smite.
That was off of a Prey Seeker.
Yep.
Oh, wait, no, it was off of a smite.
It was an early, well, they both smited, but Kez got a Prey Seeker onto it. Nian Tanso
could see it.
Takes the Graves ulti, but Valkyrie's out, and Luigi G is not going to do anything for this one.
Yep.
He can clear the wave really efficiently, but...
Q into my Seraph. Oh, boy.
Oh, he swiped early. And didn't land that on the Seraph just yet. But you know what? Still pushes them out of lane. Chunky Fresh has dive potential because the ulti is up on this this Aurelia. And Fusion looking real good in the laning phase.
And Nidalee isn't as brainless as you would think. I used to play her by rubbing my face all over the keyboard, but I found out there's a certain order in which you have to hit them.
Really?
Yeah.
You can keep track of orders as a jungler?
Sometimes. Usually I just walk up to the camp. QW.
Sounds like junglers.
Yep. I mean, with Nidalee especially. Oh.
What are mana costs?
Cool thing is Nidalee gets an auto attack reset every time you transform from Cougar to human or human to Cougar. So you can actually instant kill a ward by auto Cougar Q. Auto Cougar auto attack Q, because it instantly Qs the auto attack. So if somebody's running away from you and they have like one auto left and they're out of range, just swap into human, even if you just hit them as Cougar, and you get that extra auto.
Nice.
So you have 2 auto attack resets.
That's true, yeah.
It's pretty crazy for clearing.
Well, all the more reasons to hate on junglers.
Just Nidalee. Just Nidalee.
Okay. We're going to see the secondary bottom lane matchup, though. Phage in for Nian Tanso, and level 7 means more scary Phosphorus Bombs. They've got the lane into a freeze as well, which means there's nowhere to really run for the duo lane. Rek'Sai, though, is here to back up TDK. Nintendo is still down there in his own jungle.
It's a pink ward, too. So if Smoothie can get an ultimate... Oh, there's the engage.
They're going to go in for Smoothie. In comes Kez. The ulti not going to land on him much. Trance has already bopped the ulti, so no damage meaningfully to Alistar. Trance does have Flash. A Flash 2 could mean a kill. Chunky Fresh just taxes the lane.
All he has to do is pop that ultimate, and Alistar is completely safe from the follow-up. Kez tries to get on Nian Tanso, but very easy backup there. Whoop. Doesn't even thin out the wave. Almost nothing for that. Ooh, he just gets a little bit of HP off of it. So Seraph is actually going to take this turret.
Yeah, pre-11, Ezreal does not clear minion waves with ultimate. In fact, you can only screw yourself. Like if you're, by the way, if you're AD carry Ezreal, never ult your own wave on the way back to lane. The minions will die to the turret faster, and you'll miss out on the golden experience. Unless you're like saving the turret specifically, you actually tax yourself by ulting from base. Never, ever, ever do this.
What if you have 2 BF swords and you're super fit?
I mean, if you're somehow level 11, like before minions have a lot of health, like sure, but that's basically never going to happen. Bottom lane, though, pressured in by Nintendo, sticking with the team. Alistar is there for zone defense as Kez is coming around the side.
TP2.
Flashes up on Rek'Sai, goes in, gets Nian Tanso, and here comes Seraph, gets headbutted back in. He's just zoned away, but the burst comes through. Deathmark in as well. Kyle does get the kill. They threw everything but the kitchen sink at the bot lane, and it sticks.
There's the kitchen sink. I see it right there. They threw that in there, too. Seraph flashing at the last second, still doesn't even get in on the fight. Meanwhile, Huhi shoving the mid wave, shoving the mid lane. He can't really do anything there. Because if he went after Kyle just turned on him instead. Following his Zed's difficult.
Here's the thing, though. Fusion got more out of this. TDK didn't follow up that kill with anything meaningful. They didn't stay in the bottom lane, push the turret down. They just simply recalled and walked back to lane. They lost like 2 waves mid, 2 waves top lane, a turret top lane as well. And honestly, an overcommit for only a single kill for TDK.
Seraph did push out that wave and get the turret beforehand, though.
Okay.
So
well, that was from Chunky Fresh's bad recall.
Yeah,
bad
TP, and then he had TP advantage and just TP'd down there for that fight. But like you said, they didn't push the bottom wave. They didn't push the bottom turret to get themselves even more of an advantage off of
Right.
that.
And with Dragon being down, there's nothing to do with 5 people bottom lane except for the turret. And, you know, unfortunate choice of resources, TDK actually fall behind for that aggressive move.
And it's things like that that when the next fight happens, will Seraph have his flash available? Will Kez have his flash available up against all the flashes up on Fusion's side? So you take a fight like that, you blow your flash, and you're like, okay, we got nothing off of that. And then the next fight, what if the enemy team utilizes those flashes, and then they get more off of the fight?
Oh, sure.
Right? It's almost the same value type of fight, but then the fact they get more off of it just blows it out of proportion.
Absolutely possible, so we'll see if that does happen. 2 minutes until Dragon. 2 flashes got blown for TDK. No flashes blown for Fusion. Ezreal used to clear mid lane one more time, but he will have that back up. Plenty of gold earned still by Smoothie. Sightstone here for both junglers. Pink Horde and a few inventories here as well. Double item spike is there for Kyle, who he, identifying the fact that he's facing a Zed, does go for the blue build. Gets the early Glacial Shroud.
Woo! Raise the roof. It's a crazy animation there.
I know, it's pretty awesome. I like it. Bot lane turret goes down. Nintendo showing up bot lane multiple times. He's got a winning lane. He showed up just to support the push. Just to make sure that when something goes down, he's there to defend it, knocks that turret down, gets outer turret, and now with a minute till Dragon, bot lane's pushed so far in, Fusion get ward control over the jungle.
Yep. They get over that east side jungle. Now it's a gank onto Kyle in the mid lane, but they're not going to get anything for it. It's just wave management at this point. Seraph, though, no flash.
Gets a stun on a Chunky Fresh. Good damage on the back side of this one. He's nearly going to land the stun. Ulti in from Ezreal. Oh! Wow, he takes down Seraph. Kez in the fight with Chunky Fresh forces the flash. Red buff is there. Prey Seeker not going to be lethal damage. Wow, what a kill. Now mid lane under fire. No one's here to defend it. The bot lane is just not here in time. Nintendo once again zones the team away. Really nicely played mid game by Fusion.
Huhi's ultimate for the kill on Seraph.
That's impressive.
It's one of those moments where you wish you had flash. You wish you had flash.
Or your mid laner called, hey, by the way, Ezreal's going.
Nah, it's not his job. Not his job to do that. No. Dragon up, though. TDK do have a little bit of a position on this because of the backs from Fusion.
Oh, yeah.
They might be able to get Scuttle, but they're going to have to rush this down very quickly. They have a Blade of the Ruined King on Kyle. That's the saving grace here.
Ezreal comes in early. TDK should be able to stay. Chunky Fresh is not a teleport.
Oh, no,
Nintendo! Oh, he smites early, does not claim the dragon, goes to TDK. Will they re-engage? Aurelia teleport is almost back up, and there's a ward that they're running right over here, but Chunky does not show up on it. However, hold on, mid's under fire. So they got mid outer for dragon, which is totally worth it, but now mid tier 2. They've got inside track. Only 2 members of TDK are here.
You see Louis coming up on the side. It's going to take him a little while. Ooh, almost takes a spear for it, too. Mian does have his Trinity Force, so he's ready to knock down these turrets, and Fusion are ready to start crushing these just extra sources of gold income in the game. Pushing top, too. Chunky Fresh has control of this top wave.
Wow, it's really
and bottom.
Good play, yeah. I mean, and honestly, Trent's getting very good wards down. He just recalls, so he's got a full sight stone, and off the mid lane pressure, walks in northern jungle, gets some wards over, walks into east jungle, gets some more wards over. They've now got a minion wave bottom lane. They can rotate to that as well, and Fusion are playing the rotation game pretty well, but TDK are matching pretty much in step. There's no real damage coming to these turrets right now.
It's going to be just chunking it out, trying to throw spears on people while sieging, and if that lands, they can chunk somebody off of the objective and make it so they can't fight. The side wave manipulation of Fusion is what's paying off here, and the fact that they're keeping these side waves in check, but they don't have absolute control of the jungle just yet. They have a Pink Ward still in the Nintendo's inventory. He has not placed that down in a place that will clear some vision for them. So if they can hold this type of position until the wards expire, it becomes much harder for TDK to get a grasp back on this game.
We'll see if that continues then with a 3,500 gold lead. Team Fusion doing a pretty good job of just keeping TDK from getting to do much anymore. The real objectives that TDK are, or the only real objectives TDK are getting are dragons. And they've almost been gifted away by Fusion, saying, yeah, we'd rather kill the turret. We'll show up the dragon late. If you get it, that's fine, whatever. We'll go for a steal, but that's all.
Damn.
With wards and gold still in the lead, Fusion look good.
Giving the blue buff over as Nidalee to the Corki.
Well, if his own blue is coming soon,
Yeah.
then that's kind of okay.
I mean,
That dude is going Roa, so he's going to have some mana.
maybe I'm just a greedy jungler, but
Lar.
Nidalee uses a lot of mana in sieges. Like, people are building Tyr and Roa on her for a reason.
Tyr and? Or just...
Tyr or Roa.
Okay.
Some people go and.
Okay, that's fair. Like the
But-
Cassidon.
You usually just go Roa into Azonia's or Deathcap, whichever one you want. Depends on how you're playing it. But people go for that mana item for a reason.
19.5-minute Rod of Ages picked up for Nintendo. The blue buff did just respawn here, so he might go for that himself. We will see. Iceborne Gauntlet done for Ezreal. Goes to Hui.
Okay, so they're looking for the siege poke here from the AD carries. And Niantanso went Sork Shoes, so he's looking for the spell penetration.
Yep.
And
Standard.
Also, another thing here, too, is I keep thinking about the Nidalee Rod of Ages build and like how it came about. Another thing is you don't need boots on Nidalee very early on.
Oh, yeah.
So you don't drop money into tier 2 boots. So that's extra money you can allocate to getting the catalyst early, to getting that Rod of Ages completed. Is another reason it works on her.
Whoa, hard engaged by Trance, but maybe more than he wanted to do.
Nobody's
Gets
around
ulted by
yet.
Sona, but I'm not really sure why.
Yeah. No, nobody's really around
weird
to follow either party.
This
up.
team's not that bursty.
Yeah.
Like, there's some. I mean, Corki Ezreal is two of the burstier AD carries. There's not no burst, but it's not a ton.
They chunk Smoothie out. He's already back. They know he doesn't have his ultimate, so the counter engage chance is very low. Like, even if they get to the point where they're backdooring a turret, Trance has his ultimate. Alistar could just tank turrets as the double AD carries take them.
Yeah. And we'll see how the Fusion Siege actually goes. Chunky Fresh staying in the jungle, but getting poked down a little bit by Seraph. He doesn't have any backup right now.
Oh, that bottom wave is going to push out as well. Over time, Fusion is going to have this wave crash against TDK's tier 2 turret. So they have a lot of options available to them now.
They're getting some pretty meaningful damage now. They do check this out. Nice jump back by Louis GG. Actually gets away from the headbutt pulverize. The wave's going to reach the bottom turret right now. TDK already aware. Heading to the bottom lane. Fusion, though, pushing out mid. Nien's going to force someone to react to that soon. But Kyle's already here to the bot lane. Push this wave out to keep him safe. But careful, he's maybe overextended. Iceborne Gauntlet does not land. Trance does not cover the headbutt into the wall. But maybe the siege will work all the same. Fusion just staying grouped, keeping Aurelia topside. No engage happening for TDK. Their only engage is their top laner, and Seraph is being locked up by Chunky Fresh.
Seraph has his TP and his flash. He can go for another hero play, but right now he has to deal with Chunky Fresh, like you said. And he's definitely hurting in this top.
Oh, careful.
Oh,
Louis GG gets
Louis.
slowed up. Force a dash away. Oh, who he
A lot of damage.
overextends. He ults in. In comes Zed. Great flash to keep himself alive on this one. In comes Kez. He wants this fight. In comes the re-engage. Nintendo forced to run away. Kyle in the front lines. Louis GG forced back. Great headbutt by Trance. But Nien goes in with flash. Gets the kill. Kez gonna be the second casualty. Kyle in the front lines. Headbutted up. Pulverized. Triple kill for Nien. Seraph trades one back in the top lane, but that's not gonna be enough. It's a 3-for-1 to Fusion.
And they're going to push down this tier 2 turret and start getting towards that base. Now, they get to set up for this dragon. It's up in 20 seconds. It'll be Fusion's first dragon of the game and denying the movement speed from TDK.
And it's going to be a really powerful recall here. 7,000 gold lead for Fusion. An uncontested dragon to give themselves some bonus AD. I expect some really big things to come in for the Fusion members after this.
The fight was extremely drawn out. And this is a team, poke comps, you usually want the fight to be drawn out. If people get blown up, it's not the fight you're looking for, especially when you're this squishy. Louis, too far forward, takes the main brunt of the damage there, and then Huhi barely survives. He's getting a lot of help there. And then Kez really wanted the fight. Nintendo also survives. Goes off to the side and tries to continue poking. And now it's Niantanso and Trance versus the world. But Nien knows his damage output. Kez walks back up to try and re-engage it, but Niantanso again kills Kyle with the Rumble ulti there.
Yeah. You know, Smoothie's ult was still down there on Sona. Gets back now, but that one bad reaction crescendo was really the difference between that fight being won and lost. Nintendo got away with like 12 health right there. You saw Niantanso and Huhi really escaping with slivers left on their life bars as well. Crescendo would have been a very, very different fight.
Also, Chunky Fresh lost to Seraph in the top lane,
Yep.
and he almost had his ultimate back up. It was about 20 seconds away from being back up. If he had had that lifesteal and that extra damage to take out Seraph, it may have been the difference in that top lane too.
But it was not the case. So TDK, though they pick up a couple more kills on the scoreboard, you can see most of Bloodthirster is here for Huhi. It's already in for Neonton. So Face of the Mountain there for Trance. So these AD carries are actually quite durable right now. Louis loses a third of his health from the Ez ulti.
When you take the first hit of it, it doesn't have that fall-off damage yet from hitting minions. So when you're taking it straight to the face, it's definitely doing a huge chunk of your HP. And Louis not positioning himself. Like 80 carries on the front line is always very, very risky. It's always a no-no. And
you're seeing what TDK is paying for when they buy all that armor. These Nintendo Javelins actually do quite a bit of damage. Smoothie's going for Mikhail's, not for a Locket. So really the Corki Phosphor Bombs, the Nidalee Javelins, those things are hitting for full damage here. And even the Ez ult as well. Like really there's more magic damage than you expect. I actually want to look at the damage dealt to champions graph just by team, physical versus magic. It's probably at least 1/3 magic by Fusion here. In fact, it's probably more than 1/3 magic.
Yeah, because Corki...
Yeah, Corki's actually usually more than half magic.
Yeah.
Ezreal's about 1/3, depending on how many Qs he lands. And Nidalee's like all. Yeah, it actually might be more magic than physical. The more I think about it, Fusion's probably doing more magic damage than physical with a double AD comp.
Especially since they don't have any crit either. Like, no IEs are coming out here. They don't care about that. They just care about enhancing their magic damage spells.
And we'll have to see. Actually, it's triple AD. They've got Aurelia top lane as well. I will be checking that graph and telling you guys after the game what that ends up being. But a 7,000 gold lead maintains for Team Fusion. They took down the bottom turret earlier. They got top lane tier 2 and inhibitor turret just recently. They do have one dragon to their name, so they've got that bonus AD. Which is kind of all you need. It doesn't seem like they really need Dragon 2 because they're not, it's not like the Tristana comp where they're like looking for cheeky damage. They're like just straight poking you off the turret, and then when you're gone, they'll take the turret down with, you know, in due time.
Oh, Muramana completed now for Huhi.
Who?
Huhi. The mid laner for Fusion.
Huhi.
It's Huhi.
I'm not sure I follow you. Are you talking about Kyle? Well, while you're busy facepalming, I'm watching Nintendo. Invade on Louis GG. True shot barrage does not land. More like false shot barrage. But Louis GG running away from Nian. Not fast enough. Kill comes in. 6 and 1 on Corki. 243 CS. Mid lane cleared up by TDK, but the top inhibitor, AD carryless. And they have a ward right there if they want Aurelia to teleport on in. Another ward just to make sure your positioning's good. TDK sweep it for good reason, but the inhib's gonna fall all the same. And now Chunky Fresh has had all this time to just shove out that bottom wave. This is just even more pressure onto TDK from Fusion. Fusion's late game shot calling is getting better and better. The fact that they're able to come back from a deficit to TDK, and then that last fight where they were flanked and caught off guard was really big. Now, their splitting is on point. I think a big part of that is giving Chunky Fresh Aurelia. Yep. Looks like he was able to more or less hold up against Seraph. And the thing is, this is what I like about how this got played, by the way, is Fusion just kept Seraph top lane. Like, okay, look, he got a kill once in a while, okay? He did take down Chunky Fresh that one time, but the fact that Seraph hasn't been allowed to be an impact player, he hasn't been allowed to TP in and fight the team because he'd lose his turret if that happened. Here we go, the crescendo comes in late. Kez isolated in the front line. He goes down. In goes Zed. Gets some good damage on a Huhi, but Barrier is going to keep him safe, and they will trade kills back. It's a 3 for 0. It's a 4 for 0. Only Louis GG is alive, and in comes Chunky Fresh. Lands the slow, lands the double kill. Full house for Fusion. And then they go to the base. Waves are coming in right now. Nian Tanso's over Chunky Fresh's. They're going to get this inhibitor as well. It'll be the second one for them. This could be the game. 20 seconds. This could be the game. They're staying for the bot lane turret. They're not clearing the minion waves out that could push into the Nexus. It looks like triple inhib, then recall is probably the game plan here. They just don't have the waves to push in much more. Alistair already recalls just to get some wards back down. So, 28.5 minutes in, you've got 12 super minions per minute spawning in towards TDK's base. 28 minutes. It's really hard to deal with those numbers. Super minions, already difficult by themselves, but the fact that you don't have persistent magic damage against them either. It's really kind of Kennen in short little bursts. Yeah. Kennen's actually one of the worst magic damage dealers in terms of clearing minion waves. His AoE is really not that good overall. Niantonso going to go ahead and solo this one down. Doesn't really need the turret damage buff anymore, but he's going to get it. Why the heck not? Take Dragon, it's up. Who cares? He's got a QSS in case he is the Zed target. Same thing comes in for Huhi. Their item build's almost identical here.
It's been another game of Niantonso being the late game teamfight AD carry. When he makes it out of the lane phase, that's where he shines, is in the late game. Is where he's able to position himself in teamfights. That's really his strength.
Fusion, I don't know why they're death brushing Baron. There's no way that TDK stops them. They have to defend their base. Yeah. And so they're going to quickly take Baron down, just kind of checking all the boxes. I almost wouldn't take this just because I want to use the double super waves to make sure that the base goes down, since the top and hit will respawn soon-ish. But Fusion saying, nope, we want the Baron buff first. The thing is, they're at half health. I want to see if they recall as well. But it looks like they'll just let Nidalee and Alistar give the team sustain. And now a Baron buffed double super minion wave coming down the mid lane. And TDK, 15,000 gold down, have to somehow defend this.
It's PvE time, baby. We saw
Fusion could not attack and win the team fight.
Yeah.
Probably.
If they just Baron buff up the minions, it's more than enough. The damage reduction.
They're going to go in anyway. Trance actually knocked back by Kez. The fight has started, but down goes Rek'Sai. 1-for-0. The re-engage, a nice crescendo. The ult on a Chunky Fresh, but Aurelia will survive. Second kill picked up now by Fusion. That's going to be a third onto Smoothie. And now on to the next is Fusion, dropping only 2 kills all game. They get vengeance on TDK.
Extremely methodical game there. Once they had the lead, they just pressed it very slowly, split pushed, great wave manipulation there. The rotations were on point.
Yeah.
Very clean win from Fusion.
All right, so good things happened there. The fact that they had that lane lead in the bottom. That just level 5 happened. Headbutt pulverize, burst people out. They fought again. Whoops, killed Sona too for no reason.
First bomb.
Yeah, Smoothie, this was one of the worst, unfortunately, games I've seen from him. He gave away a free kill to Corki in that bottom lane at level 6. He waits a crescendo on just Alistar. That meant it was down for the next team fight. Those two things don't happen. That were just purely individual misplays. I think TDK is a better shot in this game. But once Fusion got the lead, right? Those misplays happened, but Fusion capitalized on them. Once those things happened, they did an absolutely beautiful job of controlling the game, taking good team fights, and closing the game out.
Yeah, the fact that they were able to close it out so methodically and easily showed that TDK playing from behind is very difficult for them to do so, especially with this comp.
Yeah.
Kennen does not operate very well from behind. No. That's the big thing, is when you run in with the Slicing Maelstrom, it then starts tickling 3 people at once. And it's like, great. It did, like, it wasn't the huge massacring ahead Kennen that you want it to be.
Yeah.
And giving Chunky Fresh and Aurelia something that he can split push on and be very confident on is, I think, a mistake.
Yeah, and again, it held down that really big trump card that TDK had in, Kennen should be good. Kennen should be good in this team comp. Alistar notwithstanding, okay, maybe you have to outplay Headbutt with a Zonias, but the fact that he was not allowed to team fight because Chunky Fresh got a split push top. So I told you guys to tell you the damage graph. So the team total for damage output for Team Fusion, overall damage 49k to champions. Physical, 19. Magic, 27. Roughly 40% physical, 60% magic. The double AD comp doing mostly magic damage, and yet you had Ninja Tabby come in for the jungler on Rek'Sai. You had armor items come in. The Zonia's coming in, not meaning very much. That is one thing I really like about Corki Ezreal. Their magic damage footprint is pretty high overall, and hey, it was a well-played game overall.
There's not a single magic resist item on anybody except for Smoothie. He gets himself Spectre's Cowl, and that's it. Everybody else has at least one armor item on them, including boots, except for Louis.
Yeah. And I mean, that is going to like bias the graph, because if you do have armor, you do decrease the physical damage output. But overall, really obviously high magic damage footprint. Good job on the double AD comp. Good things happened there. But our final game of the night is in the books. So here's a look at the updated challenger standings. Enemy Esports is still in sole possession of first place with 4 games still to play.
Again, after that, Final 5 is in second with a 4-2 record. Then it's TDK and Team Fusion tied up in third with CLG Black in 5th and TSM Darkness still in last place.
Well, a dark outlook for both those teams down there, but with games to play, there's still a chance to climb back up. There is more Challenger action in 2 weeks when CLG Black goes up against Team Fusion. Then it's TDK against Final 5. A lot of battles in the middle there, and we will close out the day with TSM Darkness against Enemy Esports.
Of course, we don't have anything next week because of IEM Katowice, but you also don't want to miss Week 7 of the EU LCS. That kicks off tomorrow with Meet Your Makers versus Giants Gaming, then H2K and Gambit Gaming face off with SK Gaming and Fnatic headlining the day. It all starts at 6 p.m. Central European Time, 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time.
Well, that's all from us today here at the Challenger Desk, but we'd like to say thanks again to our guests, Angel and Otter from Enemy Esports, and on behalf of myself, maybe Zyrene, and the live broadcast crew, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Definitely Zyrene. See you guys.
Didn't want to speak for you. Goes in, gets the Intanso, and here comes Seraph. Gets headbutted back in. He's just zoned away, but the burst comes through. Deathmark in as well. He's nearly going to land the stun. Ulti in from Ezreal. Oh, wow. He takes down Seraph. Luigi G forced back. Great headbutt by Trance, but Nian goes in with Flash, gets the kill. Kez going to be the second casualty. Kyle in the front lines. Headbutted up. In goes Zed. Gets some good damage on Ahuhi, but Barrier is going to keep him safe, and they will trade kills back. It's a 3-for-0. It's a 4-for-0. Trance actually knocked back by Kez. The fight has started, but down goes Rek'Sai. 1-for-0. The re-engage, a nice crescendo.